Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right? It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
Oh, I like it.
Jim Carrey once sat on live television, pointed at a symbol, and accused the entertainment world of knowing exactly what it meant. At the time, it looked like another bizarre Carrey moment. Years later, after Hollywood scandals, young performers speaking about powerful adults in the Epstein investigation, people started asking a different question. Was Carrey joking, or was he trying to expose something? Hollywood has always sold the same dream. Become famous, get discovered, walk the red carpet, become untouchable. But behind that dream is a question nobody wants to ask. What happens when a young performer gives someone powerful control over their career? Jim Carrey spent years making strange comments about that world. Joe Rogan spent years discussing its darker scandals. And Jeffrey Epstein became the ultimate example of how money, celebrity, influence, and powerful connections could exist around allegations involving vulnerable young people. But there is a problem. These stories are not proven to be one giant conspiracy. Jim Carrey did not publicly establish that connection. Ellen's controversies do not automatically connect her to Epstein. And appearing in Epstein-related records does not prove criminal behavior. So why do these stories keep getting placed beside each other? Because beneath all of them is the same question. When power becomes more important than accountability, who protects the people at the bottom? Jim Carrey wasn't an outsider criticizing Hollywood. He was one of its biggest success stories. The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, Golden Globes. Massive salaries, worldwide fame. He had already reached the level most actors spend their entire lives trying to reach. And then there was The Truman Show, a film about a man who discovers that his entire life is manufactured for an audience. His relationships are scripted, his surroundings are artificial, and everyone around him is participating in the illusion. Eventually, Truman realizes something is wrong, and he chooses to leave. That movie doesn't prove anything about Carrey's real-life beliefs, but after playing Truman, Carrey increasingly talked about fame, identity, and celebrity in unusual ways. He began treating the celebrity world itself as something worth questioning. Then came 2014, Jimmy Kimmel's stage, a strange symbol, and a moment that would become one of the most replayed Carrey clips online.
Talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
Carrey's comments were provocative, but they are still comments. There is no evidence in the clip proving that talk show hosts were secretly government agents or that the entertainment industry was operating one coordinated psychological operation. What the clip does reveal is Carrey's suspicion of entertainment as distraction, and that's important. Because years later, real Hollywood scandals showed that the industry could hide serious problems behind glamour, money, and carefully controlled public images. Harvey Weinstein is where the conversation stops being theoretical. The allegations against Weinstein eventually became one of Hollywood's defining scandals. But the disturbing question wasn't only what Weinstein was accused of doing, it was how long people around him allegedly knew. Agents, managers, executives, people within the industry. Joe Rogan discussed this exact culture of silence.
Contract, it was in his contract. The way he had his contract set up was like they had a certain amount of money that he would have to pay if he had a harassment claim against him. It was like...
It was a thing for him.
Yes. Like he had so many claims. That's like first offense was $100,000. Second offense was $250,000. Third offense was $750,000. Fourth offense was $1 million. He had it written into his contract.
What contract?
Miramax. His contract with the Weinstein Company.
The point isn't that every person who worked around Weinstein was involved. That would be an unjustified leap. The more important lesson is that powerful institutions can create an environment where people know something is wrong but still remain silent. And then came one of the strangest details discussed by Rogan. Weinstein's contracts reportedly included financial provisions connected to harassment claims.
Jeffrey Epstein was investigated by the SEC in the 1980s. He was one of the two people who ran the biggest Ponzi scheme in history at the time in the United States, the Towers financial collapse. Epstein's business partner goes to jail for like 30 years or 20 years or whatever. But Epstein skates completely free. Epstein gets involved in this huge fraud in the U.S. Virgin Islands with this, like $1 billion fraud case in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Never prosecuted for any of it.
If those provisions are understood correctly, the disturbing part isn't some secret Hollywood ritual. It's the normalization of risk. A powerful person can become so protected that misconduct starts being treated like a financial liability instead of a reason to remove the person creating the problem. And that's a much more realistic explanation for institutional silence than a Hollywood conspiracy requiring every person to be involved. Money creates incentives, fear creates silence, reputation creates protection, and careers create dependence. But there were also people who simply decided they wanted out. Dave Chappelle walked away from an enormous entertainment opportunity. People questioned him, some questioned his mental health. Others couldn't understand why someone would voluntarily leave so much money behind. But Chappelle explained his decision through a simple metaphor.
And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the stone.
Baboon grabs the reward inside a trap, its hand becomes stuck, and the animal can't escape because it refuses to release what it's holding. For Chappelle, the metaphor was about recognizing when the thing you want becomes the thing controlling you. That doesn't prove he escaped some secret Hollywood organization, but it gives us an important counterpoint. Sometimes the price of success isn't supernatural. It's pressure, it's expectations, it's losing control over your own identity. And Jim Carrey began talking about that exact identity problem too.
I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join. And here I am.
Was that an accident?
I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream?
There's just things happening. And there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant that's not that
Here's
uplifting.
the thing. It's not our world.
None of this is real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good.
The man who once represented Hollywood stardom was questioning whether the celebrity identity itself had any real meaning. Then, in 2022, Carrey announced that he was stepping back from Hollywood.
Retiring, but
No.
yeah, probably.
Are you being serious? Or are you screwing with me?
I'm being fairly serious. Yeah.
Really? Why?
It depends. It depends if the angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see. I might continue down the road, but I'm taking a break. I really like my quiet life, and I really love putting paint on canvas, and I really love my spiritual life, and I feel like, and this is something you might never hear another celebrity say as long as time exists, I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough.
I have enough. Those words matter because they provide a completely different interpretation of Carrey's story. Maybe he wasn't exposing a secret organization. Maybe he simply reached the point where fame stopped giving him what he thought it would. But then there was Ellen, and this is where the story gets complicated. Jim Carrey appeared on Ellen's show during the period when Ellen's public brand was built around kindness, humor, and positivity. But Carrey didn't always behave like a normal guest. He painted. He disrupted the rhythm of the show. He talked about escaping into space, and his behavior sometimes seemed to challenge the carefully controlled atmosphere of daytime television.
Take us up, Ellen! I want to go to space with you! Just take us up all the way! The Crab Nebula! And beyond! Oh yeah! Come on! All the way, baby!
Hi, thanks for
Space travel,
Yes.
man. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
We have no room here anymore.
No.
We have to go.
Yeah. Well, is that what you were doing?
There are other markets for this show.
Uh-huh.
We've got to get out there.
At the time, audiences could simply laugh and move on, but years later, Ellen's show faced serious allegations from former employees who described a workplace culture that allegedly contradicted the public be kind image. That distinction matters. The allegations involved workplace treatment and management. They do not prove that Ellen was connected to Epstein. They do not prove that Carrey was secretly exposing Epstein through her show, and they do not establish a Hollywood-wide conspiracy. But they do demonstrate how different a celebrity's public image can become from allegations made about the environment behind the cameras. Joe Rogan was blunt when discussing Ellen's reputation.
Weird when you see like a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that's people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a shred. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage.
The Ellen controversy became even more complicated when former staff members described allegations involving intimidation, harassment, and discrimination. An internal investigation reportedly found deficiencies in the show's workplace management. That doesn't make every online accusation true, but it does mean the Be Kind image wasn't the entire story. And then another story involving a young performer raised a different question. Grayson Chance became known to a huge audience after appearing on Ellen's show as a young performer. According to Chance's later account, Ellen became heavily involved in his career. He described an increasingly controlling relationship. He described decisions being changed through messages. He described her treatment of people around him, and eventually he described the relationship in extremely negative terms. These are Chance's allegations and recollections. They should not be turned into proof of a criminal conspiracy, but they raise an important issue. Young performers can enter entertainment before they fully understand how much power managers, producers, executives, and celebrities can have over their careers. That power imbalance doesn't require Epstein. It doesn't require the Illuminati. It doesn't require a secret organization. It only requires one powerful adult and one vulnerable young person. And that is exactly why the Epstein story became so disturbing, because Epstein wasn't simply famous. He built relationships across extremely powerful circles. Joe Rogan's own name appeared in Epstein-related discussions, but the reason is important. Rogan has said Epstein attempted to arrange a meeting with him, and according to Rogan, he refused.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going, because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would have ever went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the f*** are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, are you high? Like, what the f*** are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be...
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not.
That is not evidence against Rogan. If anything, his account is that he deliberately avoided the meeting. But Rogan then explained how Epstein's social strategy could work.
Like, they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They just want to be around them. They want to be around Nobel Prize winners. And because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh,
if that guy's there, that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine, you would go to these, because there's people that went to these, like, he had parties in New York, like, he brought in celebrities and comedians. Didn't Louis Black get invited to one of those? I think he's talked about it. I know Chelsea Handler went to one of them. It's like he would bring all these people in, and he'd like to be around famous people and entertainers and a lot of intellectuals and professors. And Noam Chomsky was famously deeply involved. So it's like you would go, I guess, to these places, and that was how he would convince everybody that everything is going to be fine.
This is one of the most important pieces of the entire story. Epstein surrounded himself with respected people. Scientists, academics, celebrities, politicians, entertainers, people with impressive reputations. And when a room is full of respected people, an outsider may assume the person hosting it must also be respectable. That creates social camouflage. But again, being photographed with Epstein, appearing in an address book, or having contact with him does not automatically establish participation in his crimes. That distinction is critical. Otherwise, the investigation becomes guilt by association. The real story is stronger than that. Epstein was investigated for years. Authorities had warning signs, and yet he continued operating within elite social circles. In 2005, Palm Beach police began investigating allegations involving Epstein and underage girls. A search of his Florida mansion produced disturbing material. Later, Epstein's former house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, became involved in an FBI sting concerning Epstein's so-called Little Black Book. The book contained hundreds of names and contact details. But once again, a name appearing inside that book does not establish a crime. The significance is the size of Epstein's network. He wasn't hiding from society, he was moving through it. And that creates the question that keeps returning throughout this entire story. How can one person remain protected for so long when so many warning signs exist? The answer may be less mysterious than the conspiracy theories suggest. People protect careers, people protect friendships, people protect institutions. People convince themselves someone else will handle it, and sometimes people simply don't want to know. That is where the Jim Carrey theory becomes more interesting. Not because Carrey proved Epstein was part of Hollywood's entertainment machine, he didn't, but because his criticism of celebrity culture focused on something real, the power of image. Then Epstein died in federal custody before his trial. His death was officially ruled a suicide, but failures surrounding his detention created enormous public suspicion. Questions were raised about surveillance, security, his previous incident in custody, and claims concerning his cellmate. Joe Rogan discussed the possibility that Epstein's death could have involved homicide, but the conversation ultimately acknowledged uncertainty.
I didn't know. My view earlier was that it was a homicide because the hyoid bone doesn't break when you have hangings. He said he didn't want to commit suicide. The video went out. The security guards are asleep. I mean, there was a huge investigation of this by the Inspector General. So the number of people that would have had to been involved in this conspiracy and cover-up is very large, and it's a large number of people who are in this job to be do-gooders. And so maybe there will.
Okay,
so maybe there was some evidence that will
They're
come
not
out.
in the job to be.
Oh yeah, they are.
Sometimes they're in the job to be do-gooders. Sometimes they're influenced by very powerful figures that want a particular result. Does that not happen?
But we underestimate.
But hold on a second.
Yeah.
Does that not
Of
happen
course,
in the
of
real
course,
world?
of
It
course,
does,
yeah.
right? And wouldn't you imagine if you're dealing with multiple billionaires that may be compromised by the evidence that this guy's going to relay in a trial, that would be one of the times that they would want to exert that kind of influence?
It's possible. And like I said, in our piece, we wrote it's possible. But I think at this point, we don't know. I don't think we have the evidence either way. And that's, for me, that's the change. I went from, I think it was a homicide, to now I don't know. I didn't understand that he committed suicide 18 days before.
And that's where responsible storytelling has to stop. There are theories, there are unanswered questions, there were documented failures, but the supplied material does not establish that Epstein was murdered by Hollywood elites. Well, it doesn't establish that Jim Carrey knew about Epstein, and it doesn't establish that Ellen, Weinstein, Chappelle, or Carrey belonged to one coordinated organization. Those are theories. The evidence is more complicated. And honestly, that's what makes the story more disturbing. Maybe the biggest mistake is searching for one secret organization connecting every scandal, because the real connection may be something much simpler: power. Weinstein allegedly used power to protect himself. Former Ellen employees described a workplace where power allegedly shaped how people were treated. Young performers have described situations where powerful adults would influence their careers. Epstein built relationships with people across elite society, and Jim Carrey spent years questioning what happens when fame becomes an identity people are afraid to lose. These stories are separate. They are not proof of one coordinated conspiracy, but they share a disturbing vulnerability. People with less power can become dependent on people with more. And once careers, money, and reputation are attached to that relationship, speaking out becomes dangerous. That's the part Carrey's strange interviews keep bringing us back to. Maybe the symbol wasn't the real warning. Maybe the real warning was the obsession with celebrity itself. We watch, we worship, we defend, we follow. We give famous people enormous influence. And sometimes we assume that because someone looks good on camera, they must be good behind it. But cameras don't reveal character, they reveal performance. And that's why The Truman Show feels so relevant to Carrey's story. A man eventually discovers that the world around him was constructed for an audience. His escape begins when he stops accepting the performance as reality. Maybe Carrey was doing something similar in real life. Maybe he was questioning the performance. Maybe he was questioning himself. Maybe he was simply being Jim Carrey. We don't know. And that's the line this story cannot cross. Because conspiracy becomes misinformation when unanswered questions are presented as answers. But questioning powerful systems isn't misinformation. Demanding accountability isn't conspiracy. And asking what happened to vulnerable people inside powerful institutions isn't paranoia. It's journalism. So perhaps the real mystery isn't whether Jim Carrey secretly exposed one enormous Hollywood conspiracy. Perhaps it's whether Hollywood, like any powerful industry, can become so dependent on money, image, and silence that people stop asking what is happening behind the curtain. And if that is the real warning, then maybe the most disturbing part isn't the conspiracy we can prove. It's the system of silence we already know exists. What do you think? Was Jim Carrey simply exposing the emptiness of celebrity culture? Or do his old interviews deserve another look? And when you compare Weinstein, Ellen, young performers, and Epstein, are we seeing one conspiracy or separate scandals revealing the same problem with power? Tell me your theory below.